Yeah. All right. So what's the
For
lesson
sure.
on today?
Yeah, so basically I have been sort of trying to figure out a good game plan against Fox
Mm-hmm.
as Marth, and I've just not been able to kind of come up with something that feels solid or good yet, and
Mm-hmm.
just looking for a second pair of eyes to help me come up with something good, uh,
Okay.
like a good solid base strategy of how I should approach fighting Fox as Marth.
Okay. Cool. I think I have that. How does it feel so far?
It feels pretty similar to how it feels fighting Fox, like kind of every character, where it just feels like it's very hard to like pin him down, and he's very fast and squirrely and has a
Mm.
million options, and it's really hard. And it feels like it's kind of hard sometimes to like come up with something that feels like it's a good concrete idea to have in like every spacing or range against the character.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Falco, I kind of had like some ideas and like some like spacings where it just like there were like a few different things I could cycle between that felt like pretty solid. But for Marth, I don't really think I have any of those, so it
Yeah.
feels like
Falco
even
kind of
more
like
chaotic.
Falco just makes it really easy to like categorize the game. I feel like other characters, the ranges are never as clear, especially when you're fighting Fox because he's so fast. With Falco, you're like, well, the
Yeah,
laser
yeah.
hit him at this range, so like I know everything about the game state. But like the other characters don't
Right,
get to do
right.
that. Um, okay, I guess I'll just take a look. I have some like stuff I can talk about already, just sort of guessing based on like your level and stuff like that. But we'll take a look and see. Is the stream working for you, or like the on Discord?
It's still loading.
Okay.
Uh,
Sometimes it does that. Is it still loading?
yeah, it's still saying it's loading.
Okay,
Stream you're viewing
I'll
currently has
stop
reduced
streaming and
video
then
or audio quality.
restream it and maybe.
Okay. Okay, now I can see it.
Okay, yeah, it was just like Discord bugging out, I guess.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna watch for a quick second. Yeah, okay, really quick. What is your plan? Because I asked you how it feels, but like, what is your current plan? Even if it has like holes in it and it's not perfect, like, what are you thinking when you're playing?
Um, hmm. I think uh I think it kind of I don't it's like I think it depends. I'm kind of mostly just like playing pretty reactive. It feels like I'm kind of just like sitting in one spot in center or outside of center and just like positioning myself in a way where depending on what the fox is doing, I'm going to do something that feels like it's good in response. So like
Mm.
if he's like on the ground a full like all the way across the stage on the other side of the stage, I might like dash dance for a bit and then like try to call out his run in with like a like run up a grab of my own like preemptively. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'll like if I think he's going to be like even more passive with his dash dance, I might like you know wave dash in and down tilt or like full commit run in F smash.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I think if he's going to go to like platform, I might try to call it out with like a run up and then short hop up air to like intercept him trying to go to the side platform. Or like, if he goes to top platform, then I'm going to like kind of try to stay on the ground and like shark him in a way that doesn't feel super risky. But yeah, it just feels like I don't really have like, um, and I think like a lot of times it's like, I haven't categorized yet, like on based on percents when I should be looking for certain openings and stuff. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
think I tend to like, like if he's like at 150, I'm still kind of looking for the same openings that I was looking for when he was like at zero, which is pretty bad and becomes really apparent to me. But
Mm-hmm.
it's just like stuff that I haven't really like fleshed out yet, and
Okay.
it's just like stuff that I'm kind of figuring out as I go along.
Okay. So one thing in terms of like the most basic like division in this matchup is I usually say like it's maybe a little bit under 100, but it's roughly like 0 to 100 and then over 100. It's more like maybe 0 to 90 and then over 90. Um and you should just learn the early percent part like first. Like especially if you're not immediately going to be like running Marth in like a tournament where you need to get like the dub immediately.
Hmm.
Because like basically the character completely flips to like this weird mid tier like when Fox is at a high percent, and so like
Yeah.
the Marth that you actually want to play is basically Fox from like 0 to like 90 or so, and
Mm.
so most of your really, really good kills on Fox are gonna come around like 60, 70. That's when like everything starts between maybe 50 and 70 is when everything starts lining up. That's when like the tipper fair combos into the down air really nicely, or the up B, but like also like the strong moves have enough knockback to kill. Like if you combo into a tipper at 30, you have to do like maybe a kind of tricky edge guard, but if you combo into a tipper at like 60, the edge guard is going to be mad easy because Fox is really far away from the stage. So there's sort of like this low percent where you have like some basic gimps and stuff, and so like you sort of can play around that. And then like I would say like 0-30 is kind of like random throw them off the stage gimp type of territory. Like if you do like a down throw at the edge and then like they Tekken, like not all the way at the edge, but maybe down throw and they Tekken place near the edge and you like down tilt them off. That's like something that's really good at like 30, because like if he's at 0, he can just sweet spot the edge out of the down tilt or like do some sort of mix up. But if you do it 30 and he can't double jump back to the ledge out of the down tilt near the edge, then like he has to do like an up B or a side B, and suddenly like you're in like big gimp territory. Like the gimp gets way easier. You want to keep like the gimps and stuff in mind at that percent, and I sort of look at it as like an opposite health bar or something. Like you have like basically a set number of percent in which to kill Fox. If Fox gets past that point, Marth transforms into like a mid like Link level character or worse. Like he just gets really, really bad. So when you're at that percent, it's gonna be like a lot of struggling and stuff. I would say like in the beginning, it's more important like to just notice when it happens, like when they get to high percent. Like if the opponent is at 120 and you're focusing on learning like basic Marth stuff, it's just kind of like whatever. You can just kind of like randomly hit them, whatever. I think a lot of Marths kind of get stuck and they never go back and really fix like the Martharitis issues and get really good at that Martharitis zone. But like most of the time when it happens, your goal is just going to be like, how did I let it get here? Not how do I solve it once it's here. You can deal with that more later. You want to minimize the number of times it's happening first. Yeah, even definitely. If you get one stock where Fox reaches 140%, your odds of like losing the game just go up like astronomically. If you kill Fox below 100 every stock, Marth wins the matchup for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Not by too much, but he does.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, and so let's see. Should I talk about the range first? Let me watch for 1 second, but I think I pretty much know what I'm going to say anyway. But I want to see which one of two things to talk about first based on watching.
Sure.
This is something that I think is actually worth practicing early on, is getting this fair really down. You just want to do like a lower to the ground fair. It should feel like it should never reach like his arm being tucked in like this. It should always just, unless you do like specifically like an earlier high one, but there's like this very particular one where you drop and you do it just like as you land, where the sword barely hits like this spot on the ground and it just ends up covering the whole ground and above him. And it's basically like not punishable, and it just makes getting off the edge like way, way easier. The only thing people can maybe do is like CC it, but like Fox is not going to really deal with that very often. So I think that's just kind of like you can kind of send it every time. Kadoran's been doing it like that for years, and as much as I hate it, there's nothing you can really do about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say Kadoran does that a lot. I think the only thing is, if for it to be really good, you need to like have a lot of ledge intangibility. So you got to let go of ledge and then double jump pretty quickly. And like, I think I'm not very good at. I had to practice that part specifically because I do know how to do that like conceptually, but I think dropping ledge and then doing it really, really, really tightly is like the part that I'm not great at. So I end up kind of panicking and just doing like a really bad like mid range fair, or like I don't commit fully to doing it late because I'm just like afraid that if I wait too long, I've already run out of intangibility. But really, I shouldn't be thinking about that if I just did grab the ledge and release it on time and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's just like the equivalent of Marth's like ledge dash is that fair. And so like the sooner you learn it, the sooner you're like, oh, they shined and pushed me to edge, and you're like, I'll just get up, rather than like, oh no, because like if you don't have the fair really down. And like Marth's ledge play is just way more precise. Well, not precise than Spacey's. It's way more like he has less intangibility. So like, if you just get that down, it just clears up that whole area of the game for a while and like lets you focus on the other stuff. And it's so simple that I'm like, yeah, you can just get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was afraid I'd get pineappled, so I tried to do like a really
Mm.
tight uppy and then
Mm-hmm.
accidentally uppy the wrong way.
You gotta. So I think like, this is like a small complaint. So I don't do a lot of Marth Fox lessons, so like the order that I discuss things is slightly less set in stone. I'm like, um, hmm. Okay, I guess let's talk about like the range first. So I don't know if have you ever seen any of my stuff where I talk about Fox Marth?
No, not at
Okay,
all.
so you've never heard of like tether theory?
I feel like you might have mentioned that phrase, but
Okay.
I
Yeah,
probably
so
don't remember.
basically the idea is that if Fox is in a range against Marth where Fox's dash short hop catches Marth's dash back, even if it's like you shield it or whatever, like if he's that's like what I use as like a general marker for that range. If you're really close in that range as Fox, you just win like all the mix-ups. Marth can get you sometimes, but like if you're hitting hard the majority of the time, like you get an opening out of that, Fox will win. Marth's goal a
Yeah,
lot of times, and the reason why I call it a tether is because as soon as Fox gets in that range, generally Marth has two things he can do. He can panic and throw something out, which usually can still lose to Fox spamming something, or Marth can try to escape from that range and try to like shield and wave dash out a shield and then dash away or something like that and try to like break this sort of like tether. And the idea is that as Marth tries to get out of that range, Fox tries to stay in that range. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so ignoring the tether range for now because it's a lot of really like scrambly situations. The idea is to know that if Fox is too far away to like if Fox is in total safety against you, like laser, for instance, like a laser range where they feel comfortable lasering, there's no interaction like happening at all, and so you can just like freely move on the ground or move closer or whatever. Fox wants to get from that really far away, like laser. Why do I keep saying that? Laser safety range. Fox wants to shoot from over there, or he wants to be right and close. Where he doesn't want to be is in that weird middle range. So the middle range I define as like a position where Fox is dash dancing and attempting to react to your moves by just barely getting out of the way. So for instance, if Fox is trying to like dash dance in a way to avoid dash dance grab and avoid, I think like a nice easy one to hold in your head for it is like approaching nair. Like if Fox is at a range where he looks really ready to deal with approaching nair correctly, like for instance he looks like he's gonna like dash back, dash and grab an approaching nair or do some sort of like good punish to it, that is like when you can sort of feel the middle range. It'll be like a range where you just barely can't like grab Fox, um and like you can't really approach into him, but also if Fox tries to nair you from that range and you like do an aerial or whatever, some sort of approach from that range, and you decide to dash away, Fox can never reach your dash away, and so you'll end up getting like a bait or something if he tries to like move in towards you.
Yeah,
Okay, so just
yeah,
that those three ranges make sense, right?
yeah. I think all of those intuitively are things I've thought about too, for sure,
Okay,
as I've been
cool.
learning more. Yeah, yeah.
So the fox's goal is when they enter the mid range from the far range, they want to the mid range is sort of like where the action happens, because the Marth is preventing you from getting to the close range as the fox. So you essentially use the mid range to create some form of mix up, hopefully to get in on the Marth. And the Marth's goal is to get you to stay in the mid range as long as possible. So, main
Oh,
reason being, against Fox at least, is that dash attack is unreactable at mid range. That's like a big, big thing. If Fox just keeps staying at mid range and dash dancing and avoiding your approaching aerials and stuff like that, dash attack is literally like he can't do anything about it. He will get hit by dash attack unless he's dash dance shielding like at random and happens to read it. And
okay.
he's a little bit vulnerable to wave dash and down tilt for the same reason. The wave dash and down tilt is more useful. For instance, like if Fox backs up into the corner, Like, I think wave dash and down tilt is better there than the dash attack. But the idea is that is sort of like the range where like Fox feels like he can space around you comfortably, but it's the same range where he gets hit by like random really aggressive Marth mix-ups for like dash attack, wave dash, down tilt. So there's this sort of feeling where like if Fox gets too aggro and doesn't spend enough time... Okay, let's start at the very beginning. If Fox gets too defensive and he wants to keep creating this long distance range where he can laser, it's kind of free for Marth, because Marth can just stay in the mid-range while Fox is... Like, Marth has like a semi-tether, right? Fox is trying to keep it long distance, and Marth is trying to keep it mid-distance. And most of the time it just gives Marth a lot of activity advantage. Like, you get to like execute your ideas, and the Fox is kind of responding, and it's too passive. So that's out of the way. It kind of just makes it really easy if Fox camps really hard. Then if Fox goes in too hard, you are able to just do good defense. That's where like your really good defense comes in handy. That's where nair in place, short hop late fair in place, dash back grab, CC, shield grab. All of those options happen when Fox is trying to get too aggressive. So your ideal mental state is to create a situation where Fox doesn't feel comfortable immediately rushing in, because you're too ready for that. And so he needs to spend some time in the mid-range to mix you up, but he never feels comfortable enough to actually push in, and just leaves himself open for all kinds of reads. That is like your ideal system, and when I feel the worst playing against Marth as Fox, that is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling like, well, I can't go in immediately, but when I try to do a complicated mix-up, I'm forced to like hover in Marth's like read range.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, how much of that is making sense? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that I think that all makes sense. I think I'm trying to think about like a specific example of how that would apply to my gameplay. Because like I think there's a lot of situations where I end up at that mid range versus Fox, and we're both dash dancing. It might not even come up in this game, but I've definitely like it's happened a few times, and then like I don't really know if the right play at that point is. Maybe it's just like an intuition building thing. As like I play more, I'll kind of get a better sense of like whether I should set up a wall and start doing like short hop fair in place or nair in place, or if I should try to like go for a dash attack to call them out being really passive. Like I think at that point, I think that part of like when I should pick between being defensive or offensive in that mid range is like I don't think I have a very good instinct for that yet, because like it feels like sometimes I'm like, we're at a mid-range and then I'm panicking. I'm like, should I do something? And then you were saying that like actually you want to kind of keep Fox at that mid-range.
Yeah, you want to hold the mid-range, exactly.
I don't really know how to do that, and it feels like scary kind of being just like there for a long time without threatening something. I feel like I want to eventually commit to like stopping and then short hopping, and I don't feel like I have very good control over Marth. So it's like sometimes I'm like dash dancing and I'm like, okay, wait, I want to shift to wall mode, but like how do I like maybe I have to like shield pivot out of my dash dance and then short hop in place? That's how I would do it. I don't know. Like I just have a lot of thoughts, and like some of it is like I have a hard time controlling Marth. Some of it's like it's a little bit scary to like know when I should commit, when I should be like looking to defend and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, luckily for you, I'm about to talk about that. So I think the first point to make is it's sort of like a conditioning thing. Like, let's say, assuming everything is going right for both of you, and you're both just defending yourselves excellently, it becomes a conditioning thing where, like let's say 3 seconds, 4 seconds passes in some dash dance thing, or people are just kind of, like, stalemating in the... Not stalemating, but, like, playing safe in the mid-range. And then, like, then the interaction happens. You get to play that interaction. Fox doesn't necessarily win that interaction. Like, the mid-range is a fairly even position. So it's like, it's kind of... So think of it kind of as like, you hold mid-range and you play out situations normally, and then if you ever have the thought that Fox is getting too comfortable in the mid-range, you get a free stock. That's kind of how to think about it. And sometimes it'll be like, free stock, and then they come back and they're like, fine, whatever, let's get back to business as usual, and you're like, another free stock, and then they come back, and you're like, back to normal play. And that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
like that's the feeling you want from the Marth end, is that like we're playing normal until I get my random freebie out of neutral. And so
Mm.
that's like the number one way to think of the dash attack. And that's assuming the mid range is being maintained perfectly by both people, which is never really gonna happen. Um, so let me finish this game really quick. I'm just gonna like see if there's anything else
Yeah.
that I thought, and then I kind of want to go into Uncle Punch and like show you a couple of the spacings and stuff like that.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, one quick thing to mention: nairing when they are above you is like a no-no. Nair is for even plane. You do not want to be nairing
Yeah.
Fox like coming down. If they are above you, it's either forward air, up air, or up tilt. Usually up air or forward air. Marth is not a character who does wacky options like this. You just like obey the game state. You're like, oh, he's here, up air.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. I think it's just juicy when it hits, but yeah, that makes sense. Fair and up air definitely
Okay,
answers.
so this will lead into a little bit of what I mentioned in a second. This is the perfect example of like this is like a long distance mid range. It's like at the very tip of the mid range where like your dash attack won't quite reach him here. Um,
Hmm.
and so like this is showing why Fox plays at this mid range, is that when you go for this, he can avoid it and hit you. This is like the Fox mid range that like I'm trying to like explain basically, is that like he's here,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like if you try to fight this, he's like, oh, I'm perfectly dodging this, and when he plays like that, it makes him really vulnerable to like the dash attack and the wave dash down tilt and sometimes grab.
Right, right. If I'm So okay, I find that sometimes when the foxes are at that range, if they're just dash dancing and then choosing to short hop nair out of their dash dance at me at random timings, um, it feels like I try to force doing like a short hop fair in place to wall that out specifically.
You
Like
shouldn't do
more
that.
maybe than I should. I should maybe just be letting him whiff. Is that maybe what you would say?
Yeah, like you're like the fair's just not getting you anything there, you know? Like
Yeah.
if you're trying to block Fox Nair or stop Fox Nair, your options are CC grab, shield grab, dash back grab, and Nair. That's it. You don't have other
Mm,
options as Marth. Like the fair is
right.
not an option there. Like sometimes when you're doing your fair, you'll like chop him out of like his Nair, but it's not. It's if you think a Nair is coming, you do your Nair. That's just like a rule pretty much, unless you can get a grab. Like if you're gonna do an aerial,
Okay.
it's Nair for sure.
When should I do short hop fair then?
Yeah, that's what I want to get into right now. The short hop fair is the biggest part of the matchup, and that's why I saved it for a second.
Okay, okay.
Like and that's how I was sort of struggling, because I was thinking about like mentioning the short hop fair really early on, and I was like, no, I need to go over the ranges so that he's like, well, what did I do with the fair? And then it's like, and the fair sits here as the centerpiece,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, like,
Right.
okay, so let's say we're at the mid range, and the idea of the mid range is like I can move around in the mid range without violating the mid range space. Like you can kind of think about the ideal mid range spacing as about where the dash attack hits, so about right here, and
Right.
it's similar with. So okay, I actually, oh, it's great. You're like a Falco main. I can just talk about this. So you know how there's that place in Fox Falco where you're trying to confirm your ideal range with the double laser, and then like
Yeah.
Fox is dashing around and you're dashing around, and so it's kind of just like confirm range the laser hit, confirm range the laser hit, and you're looking for like your ideal ranges to like set up. You're
Mhm.
sort of going to do the same thing here with forward air. Forward air, and specifically late forward air. Doing this is actually pretty bad against Fox. It's not bad, but like it's not going to be part of your
Yeah.
ultra basic everyday game plan. And if you think Fox is going to approach and you're doing stuff like this or whatever, you'll never win.
Right. Yeah.
So the you're gonna think of short hop late fair as laser. It's basically your laser in this matchup. And so I am mixing between this, 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 this. You know, like I'm mixing between
Mhm.
every possible range while I'm doing this. And so, like, you should never be just doing, like, this every time. Like, this is what, like, mid-Marth do, pretty much. Is, like, you do this. And I think the shield stop is fine because he has so much, like, he can, like, big vary how he jumps out of the shield. So if you're having trouble getting, like, the exact control on his drift, I think doing, like, an instant shield is actually fine because you can get pretty good control on exactly, like, how you position it. But you don't want to be doing, like, the same exact short hop every time. Because what that lets Fox do is if you do this, like, you're now set up in this cone that you can hit. You know, this is as far as you can hit. Fox's goal when you short hop, especially if you do a nair, but if you short hop, his goal, evaluate your maximum range, stand outside the maximum range. When your aerial lands, he will rush in and try to create a tether situation. That's like Fox's whole thing on the short hop. And so the good news is that by, first of all, mixing up your dash dance, and then mixing up the exact position of the fair. So here's the nice thing, is when you jump, Fox can't react to this. Like, if you just press jump, he can't react until, like, about here. And so the issue is that, like, he's just going to lose to fair and get grabbed out of any situation here. So once you make it into the air, you are safe the entire time until you land. Like, pretty much universally, because Marth has no lag on this forward at all. And so you have a drift mix-up is one, and you have the fast fall mix-up where sometimes you're here, and Fox wants to block this one, but you do, oops, sorry, like, Fox wants to block that, but you do that. Like, instead of doing this, you do, like, you can do an extremely late forward air, or one right as you fast fall.
And what's the, like, how is that different functionally for Fox?
Well, if you don't fast fall, you get more time to drift, and it throws off his timing. Because the issue is that Marth's forward air has so little lag that Fox is basically trying to beat this. Like, let's say I'm doing, like, oops, no, oops. Like, let's say I do this. Fox is trying to, like, dash dance around that. And so, like, and he wants to come in right there. Like, he wants to, like, literally, like, now he's gonna come in, you know? And even if you think about it, like, if Fox wants to do, like, a CC dash grab, or even, like, Sheik does, they need to time that pre-input very, like, precisely. It's not, like, a reactive input. So, like, mixing up your timing between, like, oh, I'm just gonna fair, I'm gonna fair at the peak, like this, and then drop it on you, versus I'm going to do the latest one possible. It makes it so that countering fair is no longer guaranteed, even if they confirm the range. Even if when you do this, like, even if you do this, and they confirm your range, and they're like, oh, he can only land here. The difference is, like, well, I can either land here, or even, like, if I do this, I go less far, right? Than, like, I can I can really get in there, and you can, like, get a crazy late fair and, like, land and stuff like that. So you have, like, a built-in timing mix-up on the fair. One other really nice part of that mix-up is that you get the late down air with shield pokes. I'm not sure if you know about that one, but if you hit the really late down air, it'll shield poke, and it also beats CC, which Fox is going to try to do this. So essentially, like, late fair beats shield, early fair spaces around shield, down air beats CC, and sometimes spaces around shield, or, like, you can kind of do like this, something like that. So you have this crazy, crazy strong falling mix-up, and as long as you mix up the drift, the fast fall, and early fair versus late fair, and occasional down air if they're just sitting there, they don't really have a super good, like, oh, he just jumped, like, I'll take care of that, you know? They don't have that. And so, like, sometimes what'll happen is Marth will go, like, boom, and technically he's in, like, the tether range, but Fox didn't trust himself to, like, punish this mix-up, you know, because it's, like, the time.
Right.
And so what is Fox gonna try to do from here if they don't think they can punish the mix-up? They're gonna return to mid-range where they can recalculate, and then you do that. And then they just, and I'm sure that's happened to you playing Spacies, where the Marth goes like, boom, and it catches you being like, I miscalculated their exact like fair mix-up, you know? And so this is the way you confirm the range too, because like let's say I'm here and I dash away. If Fox moves in immediately to this range, you know, that's like, it's information in neutral, essentially. I'm like, oh, I created this vacuum, Fox filled the vacuum. It's just like that same basic neutral stuff you would do with Falco Laser, where you're trying to like catch Fox coming in, you know? I would definitely do that a bunch where I'm like, and then boom, and you do the nair in the same way you would Falco down air to catch Fox approaching. So you're like, boom,
right,
and then you, boom, and then boom. And so like, this happens a lot where I'll go like, and then do something like, and then do instant nair sometimes, because sometimes they think you're gonna do like the slow fall. Like you can do like slow fall fair, instant nair, and like that, and like, oh, he might nair in there or like run in there and stuff like that. So like, essentially, this is your activity, like in the game. Like this is how you create mix-ups for the Fox. Is that if they jump in on you when you're already in the air like this, they're not in a good position. You know, because of your fair.
Yeah.
So they need to wait for you to come down. But when they wait for you to come down, you're controlling the timing. You're controlling the spacing. Like you're determining whether you go here or there or in place or fast or slow. And so it essentially gives you like a mix-up advantage if you end up with your fair out. At all, pretty much.
Okay.
And it's just, you can just continue playing neutral from there, but it lets you be like, oh, did you think you were going to be able to punish that one? Like, I like doing this a lot where you do early, or you do, not the early fair, but like the fast fall early fair, and then you do fast fall early fair, and then you just wait it out once. Like that, and like, they're not ready, you know, like that gives you so much info, like projection that you can use to like, give them fake info and trick them and stuff like that. And so like basically what you do is you shift between this fair mix-up mode thing and you mix between this where you're like, oh, am I actually coming in here? You know, and so you're like, oh, I'm maintaining the mid-range, and Fox is like, oh, I want to hit you, and he nairs in and you get a grab, and so he's like, oh, I gotta get in closer to get that, and he runs in closer, and then you're like, and then he's like, well, now I'm at the mid-range again. Do I want to run it again? Yes. Boom. Grabbed. Dead. It's the same thing as the laser. Like, it's the same exact, like, mentality that you use against Fox with Falco, but with Marth Fair. Very similar, at least.
Okay.
And I would say the early one and the late one are kind of like low laser, high laser, although against Fox that mix-up is not as big as some other characters. But it's just, like, it's just your big tool. And so when you have the dash dance stuff and you have the fair, and those are your two big tools, Fox, it essentially forces Fox to play like the real mix-ups with you. Like they can't just do like, I don't know, random nair, because you're like, how random? Like if it was like quick random, like if it's like within the first couple beats random, I'm ready for that. I'm ready for Fox to approach me, and it's like, well, okay, so I can't just directly nair in on Marth. Like, if you're doing this, right, Fox can't just directly approach you. So, like, what is Fox going to do from this position? Like, some Foxes make the mistake here of jumping, and then they just boom, or boom, like that. So, like, the full hop. So it's kind of scary, because Fox can't hit you with one decision. Fox needs to be like, well, I move to here, and then I move back, and then I go in and I shine, or something like that. Fox needs to create, like, a multi-step plan, you know? And that's when you're like, well, you need to make a multi-step plan, don't you? Okay, so let's say, like, we're here, and Fox is like, I need to make my multi-step plan, so you go here, or, like, Fox tries to move in on you a little bit as his part of his multi-step plan. Like, let's say he moves here, or here, and I move back to the mid-range again, you know? And then Fox is like, well, first of all, while Fox is thinking, he's vulnerable, you know? Like, if Fox just sits there, he's vulnerable. And a lot of times Foxes will wait, and they'll kind of be like, whew, looks like I can't get in right now. And you're like, you know, Fox looks up and just sees this. With Marth, like, right in his face with a fair. And it's like, oh, that's what happens when I stop. But if he goes, you're ready. And even when he does go, and you don't read him, it's like he did his first nair to here, or he did his dash to here, and now you keep up the mid-range. And his options are break the mid-range and go in again, you know, which is kind of dangerous because you just went in once and Marth knows you're going to go in. He can back up and laser, which gives Marth center stage from one wave dash. Or he can stay in place, which eventually will get hit, or he can do another long plan, which will first of all give you more info because you see him doing his long plan to get in on you, or like his big mix. Like some foxes will like run like wave dash back shine. Like if you see that, then you're like, oh, okay. Like, do you want to try that again now that I've like returned to the mid range at this range? And it's like the fox is gonna have to come up with something. Like they're gonna have to move back or in or something. And like while they do that, you can just be like, oh, you moved in? Nice, mid-range. Oh, you moved back? Mid-range again. And then they're like, oh, okay, I guess I'll attack you. Dash, dance, grab. And I'm like, oh, okay, back to mid-range. And you're like, boom, and then you kill them.
Okay.
And that is kind of like, if I can get all the way around it, I feel like that's kind of it.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Let me see. I can grab the second Slippy, unless you have something else specific you were thinking of. Or like, what thoughts has this given you, or anything? I want to figure out where you're at.
Yeah, it's good. It's a lot of information. I'm just trying to process it. I think so your explanation of how to think about the matchup generally kind of clears up some other questions I had that are kind of like adjacent to this, where like one thing was like I was wondering about when I should use Nair versus Fox, but now that you've explained it, it's just basically like an anti-Fox Nair tool.
Yeah,
I think it's like a simple way for me to think about it.
It's okay. And then like here's a quick thing to mention is that there's like, I don't remember the exact specifics of it, but there's something involving like if you do the Nair a couple frames late. Like I was hanging out in Discord once and Zane was labbing it, and I think it's that if you do the Nair on frame like 3 or 4, that it can like auto cancel while the second hit still hits Fox coming in from the ground. So you can get kind of like a, well, I read your Nair, but the Nair can kind of be used to cover you coming in on the ground. Whereas if you do it too fast, I think the last hit of Nair might be a little high, or there's something like that. Yeah, so I would just say, be kind of aware of that, but like mostly you're just going to be using it to block Fox Nair.
Yeah, because I was going to say that something I found against Fox especially is that like when I'm doing Nairs to catch him running in, I've noticed it very often is inconsistent whether I get the second hit or not, because if I'm doing it like an AC Nair, it often like the second hit won't hit him because of how low he is, I think. So that's why you
can get the AC Nair and have it hit him too. That's what I was trying to say basically.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That execution, I think I probably just has something I had to practice, but yeah.
It's a specific timing, and like I think it's not one of the things where I'm like, you need this perfect Nair. It's more like you should know why sometimes it's missing. You know, like just like jump and then slightly delay the Nair, I think is like the key to make it work right. I haven't looked at it frame by frame. This was like a year or two ago when I was in Discord watching him lab it, so I don't remember perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Was there anything else you were thinking of?
Yeah, I think I mean, I was just like thinking about when I should use Nair, and so that makes sense. And then when I should use short hop fair. Yeah, and I think
most situations are gonna be the fair. I think. Especially if you're moving forward at all. One thing with the Nair is I would say it's really, really common in the meta. You'll see almost every Marth do this, whereas if a Fox is on the side plat here, the Marth will approaching Nair, the side platform. I would recommend not getting that habit. Because I personally just punish every Marth with Fox and Falco by dash back shield dropping the approaching Nair as it lands. And I do that just over and over to every Marth. So just a note, you will see them use it. I don't think it's good.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah.
And I'm gonna watch this, and if you come up with anything else while I'm watching it, then just say it, and I can pause it and we can talk about it.
Yeah, for sure.
classic, like, I'm picking up Marth Edgeguard. This is like the most I'm picking up Marth Edgeguard ever, where you're like, I was supposed to land perfectly. Like,
Yeah,
I feel
yeah.
like I just know that feeling. And yeah, you're definitely, I know we talked about the fair from ledge, but these are definitely like drifted in way too far. You want to be fairing like here, like at this horizontal spacing. You don't want to be trying to take too much space with it.
Okay.
It also is nice because it
It's
makes
about
it.
like the timing of the fair, not the like. I don't
No,
want
I'm
to like
saying
drift
like
too
you
far
want to
in.
fare right on the edge, right here. Like you don't want to come out as far as you can, pretty much. In my opinion, I think it's better because it makes it
Yeah, so you want to do
harder
it late, not like deep into the stage, basically.
Yeah, like the closer you can get it to the edge, usually it's good. It has a couple benefits. First of all, it's ambiguous with hack stash, which is kind of nice. And second of all, like it's just really, really tough for Fox to like actually get in. Whereas if you like kind of extend, there's just become more options of how to deal with you from the stage. It's not a huge deal. It's just something that I would recommend is like getting them at least short first, and then experimenting with coming out of off the edge more.
Yeah, yeah.
Hilarious down here. That's the other thing is like you don't want fast grabs as Marth. I know that sounds weird because you would want fast grabs if you could get them. But the desire for fast grabs ruins Marth neutral. So like because remember the goal is to you sort of force Fox into coming up with multi-step approaches, and then either exploiting the predictability in those, exploiting how long it takes him to come up with them, etc., or exploiting how predictable or like how like if they're not well designed approaches and they're kind of like easy to react to. Like some people will do like a really tricky approach, and the last step of the approach they dash too far and it's reactable for Marth, and he gets a dash back grab. I'd say that's the most common mistake in this matchup for me. Is that like I just slightly misconfirm a range and then my dash in is reactable, and it's like, oh, like that whole like circus act I just did to confuse the Marth is irrelevant now because he backed off and I decided to keep pushing and now it's reactable.
Right.
So like
okay.
the idea of like, oh, you just come back and you get that grab and stuff like that, like if you're invincible, sure, like throw out a grab maybe. I would prefer an aerial because they cover way more options and like can potentially catch him out of more stuff. But like getting the quick grab won't teach you anything about Marth. Whereas like the more times in your life that you play this neutral where you kind of drain Fox of all his good ideas is like you'll feel that. Basically what happens is like the Fox will reach a point where they're like, man, I tried dash forward, wave dash down approach, and I tried dash forward, wave dash back, wave dash in approach, and I tried dash back, wave dash back approach. And they're like, none of those worked. I'm just out of ideas. And you'll feel it. Like, you'll feel the Fox be like, I don't know, I only had 3 tricky dash dances in my repertoire. That's like most Foxes. You'll feel it, where you're like, oh, they just ran out. And then they kind of like start being like, well, I guess I just have to be like, I guess I'm just so predictable, like I have to be crazy. And as soon as they think that, it's free grab city. You can just insta 4-stock them in like a minute because they're just like, oh, crazy nair grabbed, like dash back Reddit grabbed, you know, like you'll feel it. And that's the point when you start getting these quick grabs. If you go for them now, like what are you learning, you know?
When you say the quick grabs, you mean like when I just like raw run up and grab in neutral?
Yeah, or just like in general, like it's the quick grab, but also the quick anything with Marth. Wanting the quick anything in this matchup, I'd say the grab because it's like the most obvious, easy one to think about. But like the up tilt you did right there was exactly right too, where like you were kind of able to react to like Fox jumping here, but like a generally better Marth play to think about would be to like dash here and then fair pressure the plat and try to get him to jump and then up air him and stuff like that. Like you want to be practicing like get center, push Fox out towards the edge type gameplay. I think this is the type of stuff that's just freebies for Marth. Like, it's either a freebie or you get rocked. Like, either
Right.
Fox did this jump and then, like, triangle jump, wave dashed back, and you do this, and then Fox just, like, takes you to school. Like, if Fox can do whatever he wants at that point because you missed the up tilt, or you can't commit with Marth this much without making bad habits. That's what I basically want to say. Like, if you're just like, there he is, I'll hit him, it'll just make so many bad habits. You'll play a Fox who dashes back after the dash in instead, and it'll just ruin everything. And I've definitely had that. Like, I was playing back when I was playing Marth, long time ago now. I just remember, like, I had all these really good patterns, and, like, I had played against a bunch of the good Foxes, and then I played Mike Hayes, and every single position where the other Foxes went in, he faked going in. And I just felt like the biggest moron. I was just sitting there like, up tilt, grab. Like, you just start, like, you never want that feeling. It looks really bad. It's like, it's better to be, like, overly honest with Marth up to a point. I think, like, it's important to keep it, you know, managed, because you end up being like, no shade to Ty, but he knows this is a problem too, is that he's had a lot of problems going for big commitments, going for down smash, going for forward smash, because he's, like, drilled into his head so hard over years to play the right way and not throw out dumb F smash, throw out dumb F tilt, or up tilt, throw out dumb grab. And honestly, Zane's the same way, just at, like, a higher level. Like, once every 6 months, Zane is like, wait, what if I random tipper to neutral, you know? And then he does it a few times, and he's like, oh man, why was I never doing this? And then he plays, like, KJH instead of Cody, and the patterns are slightly different, and it's like, oh, that's right. And then he shows up at the next major playing the exact same, like, kind of passive style. Like, it's like, it can become a negative to play Marth overly honest like that, but it is the way that you make your Marth good. And it's like, even when you eventually learned, like, no, I will let the F smash rip, it needs to be, like, the tiniest, like, 1%.
Right.
It's like, if they know you're never ever gonna do it, then that's bad. Then that is bad. But, like, if they read you doing it, that is even worse.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And yeah, these nairs are not. These are not the nairs you want to be doing. These are the reason. So this nair is kind of advanced. You can do these nairs on Fox Shield, but you have to drift back and space it so the second hit barely hits the shield. You don't want to land, like, in this range or be jumping towards him like this. And so for most, like, beginner-ish Marths, I tell them to, like, simply don't approach with an aerial that's not late fair. Like, you're allowed to approach in the air if you're just empty hopping, basically, but don't, like, approach in the air with an aerial that you are, like, jump aerialing, like, and moving towards them.
Right.
It's just, like, not very good. Yeah, you're not, like, you're not seeing Marth from the Fox perspective here. Like, you're not looking at this from the Fox perspective that if Marth runs out of the corner and grabs me, I'm dead. You're looking at it from, like, what's the way to say it? As Marth, you either want to be reading, like, you want to read their big approach, or you want to, like, read that they're not really big approaching. Trying to do kind of like this grab would maybe hit a fade back nair at a slightly better range, and it's like, as Marth, like, I don't want to mess with that. Like, I don't want to play that game. Like, if I thought that Fox was going to be in this exact position, I would late fair or go to the platform and wait for a second and then run off or something. And it's like, if I thought that, like, I would maybe get hit for that, then I would nair in place.
Okay.
But, like, trying to get, like, the up tilt and the grab, like, you're basically playing around the fact that Fox will give you this range, and it's more like, no, Fox isn't going to give you this range, so you can ignore it and just play around the rest of the game. It's like been pre-covered by Fox being in extreme danger from easy up tilt down air. Like, Fox
Right.
will naturally avoid that range if he is competent, and so you can just be like, well, of course he's not going to go in that range because that's like the baby up tilt range. And so like
Right.
you can do a lot more where you're like, oh, I'm totally gonna attack the baby up tilt range, and he's like, nah, I'll move back, and then you're like waved, and then you like dash attack. You know, that's like the most common thing that Marth uses to read this here is like, I'm gonna cover the baby range. Fox moves away, dash attack, and Fox hates that.
Right.
Yeah, man, like doing this doesn't do anything. It's fun. Like, this feels good, but it's not doing anything. I would have preferred you got on stage and just waited. It's if this is a practice game, at least, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, as Marth, I would like, you want your practice to be like holding center against Fox and kind of pushing him. There's some Fox lessons that I do on platform stages where I talk about this. Let me just go over it really fast so you're not missing like a thing I mentioned like a lot. It hasn't fully come up on this stage, but basically it happens on any tri-plat stage. And basically Marth picks a platform and it's his house, and Marth will stay right here underneath the edge of the house in this vertical space. And to beat it, Fox picks his own house on this side. And Fox's goal is to get Marth to like, basically, the ideal case is that Marth either wave dash down tilts or does a bad approaching nair into the center. Kind of like you've been doing with these nairs. And Fox wants to, like, he wants to be in his house, and he wants to get a full hop to center as you attack center, and then punish you where the shine can hit and you won't go to the edge, but he has you in the corner. And all these situations sort of line up. And so, like, Fox sort of has this thing where he's kind of trying to, like, bait Marth out of the corner, which ends up putting him at the mid-range. And that's just, like, the thing you have to keep thinking is, like, can I hit him really easily? And you're like, no, it seems like he's hovering just outside of my range. And then you're like, the mid-range. Like, a really powerful mix-up is to dash into the exact range for dash attack, and then just keep dashing. Because it looks like a dash attack that you just keep running, but, like, there's no dash attack coming, and so you can just, like, run delayed crouch down tilt, or run and then dash back and start something new, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Marth is all about, like, against Fox at least, being like, this is my all-powerful ultimate thing that you don't want me to get. And so I'm just gonna, like, assume you never go in that range, and I'm gonna, like, work around it. And it just creates this very weird, feeling in neutral sometimes, where, like, Marth isn't doing any of the things that bother you as Fox, and you're still losing. Because he gets to play around them. So, like, Marth isn't getting grabs, and he's not getting up tilts, and he's not getting easy tippers. But what he is getting is you tried to double jump to get away from the one position in the corner, and then he caught you with an up air and fair downed you. And you're like, but I was avoiding all of his good stuff.
Right, right.
But be aware that when you're on the triplat and you're gonna dash dance here, and Fox is gonna dash dance here, and it's just kind of like a weird battle. But just know that it creates the mid range when Fox does it, because you'll be here and be like, okay, nice, I'm chilling, and then Fox is here and you'll be like, wait, it's mid range, sure, but he can go to the platform, and so dash attack isn't reliable, and it's just like, it's just a little harder to get over here, but you still have your defense and stuff like that. It just basically makes it so that your random read out of here is worse, because he's just expecting it from his little defensive position. But you also have yours over here, and if he wants to pressure your house, he needs to go into center, and then you're happy. It's just like this weird back and forth, kind of like Fox and Falco do on the platforms, but Fox and Marth do it in that one little spot. Ooh, okay, so this is what I'm talking about, where you, like, come down with this late fair, not that one. You come down with this fair. So, okay, we have like 2 minutes left. I'm just gonna go through this really quick. The ideal pressure situation you get on Fox is he's in the corner, and you have a fair, or you have an empty hop where you can wall him into the corner, maintaining his corner position, or drift into the corner and late fair him. This is Marth's strongest position in the entire matchup, almost. It forces Fox to go to ledge and immediately ledge dash. It forces Fox to do it. If you play Cody, he will do this. Why? Because for 1 year I watched his VODs every day and was like, Cody, he tried every option Fox has. Everything that Cody could possibly think of here, he tried. And eventually he was just like, yeah, you're right. It's just go to ledge and ledge dash. And so, on one hand, it's not technically an advantage position because Fox can do that. Most Foxes will not be prepared every time they're in the corner to go to ledge and ledge dash. Maybe a box player. But just so you know, like, if they get caught here, especially, I love it when they get caught here and they're facing forward and, like, shielding or something because you know they can't go to ledge. It's like it's the best position ever. Like, imagine Falco pressuring Fox in the corner, but you had a move that covered all vertical movement.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if instead of having to jump shine, you could shine on the ground and it would cover Fox full hopping the platform. It has this, like, oh. And if he went to top plat, you have a move that fully covers him falling with the up air. And it's just like, oh, the corner pressure gets really, 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 really nasty here. And Fox has to go to ledge and ledge dash, or he has no option here. And so if you ever get this and Fox is not already on the ledge and ledge dashing you, it's beautiful. You get a perfect pressure here. It's just you get everything you want, and so I would say it's not, you can be more aggressive here than you would think you could. Like, I would say you should land about here with your fair so that he doesn't have room to get into the corner. Because you've already forced him here and you're falling, you have drift stuff. Just think about this. You have forward air and down air here. What does Fox have here? Against forward air, he's got nothing. If he jumps into it, he's dead. If he stays grounded, he can't punish it. If he shields it, you outspace him and do it again. But
right.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you lose the mix-up. This was not a flaw on your part. And honestly, I am amazed, but somehow the Fox risked everything about everything and dashed in here. I think the way they did it was they were like, I'm going to go all the way into the corner and come out, and they just kind of hoped that beat whatever you did here. But this is Fox's ideal mid-range breaking situation, essentially. Fox wants this so badly, where he gets in here, and this happens. Usually, I would say the best option here is to pick a direction and dash, either forward or backward. Reason being, if you dash forward, the running shine a lot of times sends you back, and he won't be able to punish. If he down airs, a lot of times you end up on the wrong side. If he nairs, sometimes you even go under it because Marth's dash is so low. You essentially create like a moving low profile, and with like pseudo invincibility because he leans forward, right, and like dodges a lot of stuff. And by mixing that up left and right, even when Fox wins this position, like there have been times where I win this position as Fox and I dash in here on Marth, and then I immediately drill right here because I'm like, no, I'm not going to fall for that. They're going to fair dash in after that and try to get behind me, and I'm going to drill it right there. So, like, the shield is fine, and I'm not telling you never to shield there, but, like, dashing or crouching, but usually the dash is a little better because Marth has that stupid broken dash, is usually generally a better idea upon landing than shielding. Shielding is like your last resort where you're like, oh no, like everything failed. And it's very tempting to feel like everything failed here, but you have a magical dash that dodges everything. So that's the last point I would make. We're definitely at time, is to like dash out of the aerial more than shield. And you'll be very surprised at the result. And not dash back. 50-50 dash in, dash back.
Right.
Because Fox is already tethered to you, so your goal is to break the tether. And if you stay shielding, the tether is not broken. He just gets to go crazy on you. But if you stay moving, you have a 50% chance to break the tether. He either reads left or right, and you go the opposite direction.
Right. Okay. That makes sense.
Cool. Yeah. Haven't gone over in Marth Fox in a long time to that extent, but I feel like I went over all of my like big points, and this has been one of the better reductions I've done of it.
Nice.
Do you have any closing thoughts or questions?
No, that I think that all makes sense.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I was just kind of looking for something essentially like that, just a good, simple, distilled game plan.
Yeah,
when I should use certain moves,
Once you put this in and then you lose, it's way easier to see where you're going wrong. Like, I feel like every situation I've lost in Fox Marth or won in Marth Fox, basically, like, this lesson contained every situation that comes up, like, 99% of the time. So, like, if something happens, you can either be like, oh, it categorized into this, or like, whoa, why is that not in the category? Like, it'll feel very, like, distinct.
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right, sounds good, man. It was good talking. Let me know how this goes.
Yeah,
And I will
definitely.
talk to you
Awesome.
later.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank
Great.
you, man. Have a
Peace.
good night.
You too.